Hi folks, I'm just going to do a wee demonstration video here on your new van. So we'll just go inside here first and we'll have a look and see what you start off here with. We'll start off here now with your control panel. So this is your control panel here, and it's straightforward enough. You have your 12 volt here on and off. You can see it comes up on the screen. So when you switch that on there, everything comes on inside the van. The next thing you have in is your water levels. It's showing up an alarm there now. That's your fresh water at the top there. It's empty and it's showing an alarm that it needs to be filled, and the bottom one there is your waste. The next one here, if you keep pressing that, this is your batteries now, and this is the one on the back here is your leisure battery, and you can see the voltage on them here now. We're not plugged in at the moment, so you can see your engine's a 13.2 and your leisure battery is a 12.6. Now if we plug the van in, they'll both go up, especially, well, the leisure battery will go up a good bit more, so maybe 13.5. And when we start the engine, that should go up as well. So that's your batteries there. We'll just flick through them again. What's that's showing there is just different amps and stuff, but it's really the voltage that you need to be keeping an eye on. Now the only thing we say with batteries, we'd recommend that you plug the van in at least 2 days every fortnight, especially in the winter time when you're not using the van, just to keep your batteries fresh. Maybe not so much in the summer when you're using the van a good bit, but even if you are parking the van up for a couple of weeks, I would definitely plug it in a couple of days every fortnight, and it'll just make sure that your leisure battery is kept fresh. Now the other things here is you have clocks and stuff here as well, and it shows you outside and inside temperatures and stuff. And over here it's the same sort of thing. It's just a menu and for changing your clocks and stuff, but the main ones you're really looking at here is your 12 volt on and off, your water levels, your battery condition, and maybe just your clock. But that's really all there is to your control panel. So the next thing we're looking at here is your fridge, and this is your main control knob on your fridge, and you have an auto feature here, but we'll go through the manual. The manual way of bringing it on is you have your gas at the top, and if that stays lit there, you see the yellow light, that means it's lit up okay. If it flashes, it means your gas probably needs to be switched on. The next one down now, we see we've got a red light because we're not plugged in. That's your mains. And the next one here is your engine battery. That should only be switched on when the engine's actually running. Now you can see in this van it's actually working at the moment, so never ever put that on there when the engine's not running, because it'll just run down your leisure battery. The reason this van has got that still connected is that you can leave your fridge on at a low setting if you're using a ferry or something like that, like a short trip. You can run your fridge off your leisure battery, but I wouldn't put it on there unless the engine's actually running, or it will run down the battery very quick. And the last setting then is auto. Now when you're in auto, it'll pick whatever's available. It'll go on to gas. If you plug in, it'll go on to mains, and if you start the engine, it'll go on to the battery, and that just runs off the engine. Now you can see there we've gone on to auto and this hasn't lit up. That's a normal feature. We were on battery there a minute ago, and that's the fridge thinks we were driving, and now we've stopped. The fridge won't light for 2 minutes because in case we're on a filling station, that there's no sparks going outside. So that's normal enough, but it will come on gas now if we leave it long enough. So that's your auto features. There's the gas coming on now. The auto feature's the best feature to have it on, because when you pull off from the campsite, it's going to go onto the battery as you're driving, and if you plug in the campsite, it'll go on here, and if you're wild camping, it'll go onto the gas. And this wee button here, that's just a heater that I'll show you down here. See this bar here at the bottom in between the two doors? It just puts a wee bit of heat into that there to stop condensation. So anytime you're using the van and it's warm inside the van, just put on that wee switch there, and that's what that is. And over this side here is your fridge temperature. You can see it going up and down there. And this last knob here is actually for your oven, which is up here at the top. You have your oven and grill. So what you have your grill that way, and you can see it lighting up there. And then at 0 it's off, and then you have your ovens around this way, and you can see the oven lighting up there as well. And that's just a self-igniter, so you just push that on, turn it to the grill over this side, or the oven on that side. So that's everything to do with your fridge. The door catches, the lock, sorry, you can see here it's unlocked here and it's unlocked here, and they actually work opposite, so you can get your fingers like that. If you're locking it, you can lock the two doors like that, and you can unlock the two doors by going that way, and you can see there, you have 2 wee notches in that. You can actually close the door on the first notch to vent the fridge, and it locks on the second notch here, normally when you just close the door. Now the most important thing with these here is that you have the lock that way before you close the door, because you get a lot of these damaged by getting hit. This bit here gets hit by the wee metal retainer inside. So when you're closing the door, make sure it's like that before you close it. And then you close the door, and that's it locked, and that's it locked. So that's your fridge, the 2 doors locked. So you can unlock the 2 doors like that and lock them like that. So the next thing we're going to look at here is your heating controls. Now they're just, you can see the outside door, they're just inside the hab door. And the heater in this fan here, it'll heat on gas or electric, or it'll actually heat on both. So you can set it on whatever you want, to what power source you want to use. Now at the moment you can see there you have 5 different symbols, and the middle symbol is gas on its own. So if we're not plugged in, that's the only one you can actually use. If you're wild camping, you'd have to use the heater on gas only. The top 2 here are 2 electric. You have 900 watts and 1800 watts. So there's 2 elements in the heater. In Ireland, if you're running on mains, just put it straight to the top here. That's 1800 watts. The reason they give you a half one is if you're getting bad ampage in some of the campsites, you can switch it down to the 1 bar, you know. So you have 2 bars of electric. That's your mains there. So that's 1 bar and 2 bars. And then you can see down the bottom here is a mixture of both. So you have gas and 1 bar here at the bottom, and gas and 2 bars. So that's the fastest way of heating the van up. You'll have the gas will come on, and the 2 bars of electric at the one time. So you can see that's gas and 1 bar of electric, and down there at the bottom is gas and 2 bars of electric. And in the middle then is gas just on its own. So we're not plugged in, so we're just going to run the heater now on gas on its own. So if we come over here now to this one, the wee knob here is at 0, so the heater's actually off. And the first thing we'll do is heat the van. To heat the van, we'll bring it down here to the first one, the wee flame there, and that's heating the van. So now we're heating the van on gas. And if we were heating the van on electric, we'd have it up there. So that's heating the van on gas, and you can see this inner knob here, that's your temperature you want to run the van at. Now it goes from 1 to 9, usually in around 5 or 6 is usually sufficient to heat the van, and the heater will cut in and out as it heats up, so it's not going to be running constantly. Once it heats up, it's going to knock itself off, and then once it cools down a bit, it'll come back on again. Now if you run that at 9, which is back right the whole way around, the heater will just constantly run. Now the only thing I would say about the heater, when the heater's running on gas, you'll hear the heater actually blowing out through the vents. When it's running on electric on its own, you'll hardly hear the heater working. It's a lot slower, but it'll get there, but it's just a bit slower. It's the same with heating the water. It'll always heat it quicker on the gas, or the gas combination with the electric. It'll always be a bit slower on the electric, but it'll get there too. So if you're on the campsite, you can actually heat the water and heat the van on just electric without using any gas. So that, I'll go back to this one again. We're now heating the van at number 5. At the bottom here then, the next one down is heating the van and heating the water at 60 degrees. And you see the yellow light coming on. Anytime you're heating water, this yellow light will come on. And once it gets to 60 degrees, that yellow light will go out. So you know then you can't heat it anymore. So that's the 2 heating settings. You've heating the van, and down the bottom you've heating the van and the water at 60 degrees at the same time. And then in the summertime, if you don't want any heat, you can either heat the water at 40, and you can see the yellow light comes on. So, or you can heat the water at 60. Now inside the van, for the sinks and just washing your hands and dishes, 40 is sufficient. The 60 is really for having a shower. The way you'd have a shower is you'd heat it up to 40, let the yellow light go out, and about 5 minutes before you want to have the shower, flick it on to 60 and let the yellow light come on, and the boiler will be running then as you're actually having your shower. So, and back at 0 then, that's it off. So we're just in the wee cupboard here, just below your main wardrobe here, and this is your heater. Now the one thing we would definitely recommend is that you don't store anything in here, because there's a lot of wires and pipes, and the heater needs a certain amount of air to actually operate, and there's fans in there that'll suck things in and stuff, so I just wouldn't store anything in there at all. What we're looking at on here now is this red valve. This is your frost valve, and how this operates here this retains the water inside the heater. And at 2 degrees, this wee valve here will drop down like that. I'll just pull it back up again. And once it drops down, it'll drop down itself automatically at 2 degrees. It'll start to drain all the water out of the heater. And what that does there, it protects your heater from frost. If you're not near the van, or you've left the van, you've gone away, and it's got very frosty, that'll drop down and protect the heater itself. So when you come back, then that there valve will be down and the heater will actually be empty. So if you turn on your hot tap at that stage, you'll probably be getting water coming out from underneath the van because you've opened the system. So you'll have to come back here and pull that back up again. So any time that you have any problems with water pressure on any of your taps, always just have a look at this wee valve and make sure it's up. Because once that goes down, you're depressurizing the whole system. So if you open your hot tap, the cold tap will always really pump because it's directly from the tank, but the hot one will come through this valve here. And if you open your hot tap at any stage and you're getting air coming out or it's not looking too good, have a wee look at this valve and make sure it's up. Now the only time this valve won't stay up is if it's too cold. If it was at 0 degrees and you want to pull this up, every time you pull it up it'll drop down again. Now how you'd override that, you can override the valve by switching on the heating. As soon as you switch on the heating, that the actual sensor in here is overridden, so it won't drop down in the cold temperature. So if it was -5, you could come in here, switch on your heating and pull up your valve and it'll stay up. So don't ever put cable ties or pegs or anything on that, because once you put a peg or something on that or a cable tie, that's your safety gone. So this valve here is also used for winterizing your van. So if you want to empty your van in the winter time, you empty your 2 tanks, your fresh tank and your waste tank, and you come around here and you push this valve down and switch off the van. And you can hear the water running outside there. So if you want to winterize your van, you'd empty your 2 tanks, come around here, push down your valve with the van switched off so the pump's not running, and open all your taps in between hot and cold. Now once you do that, you're going to let air into your taps, and all that water that's in the tap and the pipe system is going to go out through this valve. And you'll have to do your 3 tap, your tap in the shower, your tap in the bathroom, and your tap in your kitchen. So I'll just show you here what we're talking about in between hot and cold. That's hot and that's cold, so in between there, just open the tap up. And we would recommend even blowing into the tap at that stage to blow any excess water away from the head of the tap, because these taps are fairly expensive and they actually crack in here with the frost. So once you drop your red valve and with the fan off and your pump not running, you'd open all your taps in between hot and cold and actually blow into these here, and that's pushing all the water out of the van, and empty your 2 tanks, and that's the van empty. So what you do then is you come back, you fill up your fresh water tank again, close all your taps, and you come back around here and pull up this valve. Now once you've that done, then you can open your hot tap in your kitchen with the pump on, and you'll get a free flow after a while once it's filled up the water tank, and that's you back in action again. So we're just moving around here to the, you see the sitting area here. I have this board lifted up, and in underneath there, if you just have a wee look, just beside the wheel arch, there's your main trips. So that's your 220 volt trips there. There's just one trip. So that's your mains trip in there. It's just beside the wheel arch underneath that seat. So you just look, we're looking here now at the makeup of the bed here. The table drops down, and then that's the way you organise the cushions there. And this one here, as you know, it slides out. So you can slide that whole bench seat out, and that'll meet this as well if you want. Or you can just have that as a single bed on this side, and you could use that there if you want to. So that's your layout of your beds, and then you just have your pull down bed as well at the front. Just collapse the 2 seats the way they are at the moment. You just go up here, just give your bed a pull down, and you can see your ladder is heading in there. Just clips in. So that's your ladder for getting up and down, and that's all you have to do there with the seats. Just collapse the seats down. Now it will just sort of rest up against the steering wheel, but there is stops in the bed. So that's your bed. So the next thing we're looking at here is just your fresh water tank. It's underneath this hatch in the floor, and how you'd empty your fresh water tank is this little black valve here. So this black one here, you give it 2 turns only, anti-clockwise, and that'll drain your fresh water tank. and 2 turns forward, then lock it up again. So that's all you have to do. There's an inspection hatch here as well, but that's your valve there for draining your freshwater tank. So your bathroom's all fairly straightforward. It's the same thing with the taps, hot and cold, and you have your toilet flush here, and you'll have a red light coming on here when the cassette needs emptied, and you just have your little light here as well, and a wee 12 volt. So we're just looking at the operation of your table here. You can see this handle here that turns around that way, and then your table will collapse. You can push your table down and it comes back up again. Now once you push it down to the very bottom, once you can tighten that up again. When you loosen it again, it'll only come up halfway, and that stays in. You stand on this here and that'll let it up the full way. Then see this wee button here, you stand on that. So when normal position, you lock it there, and you have your sliders here as well for sliding your table around. You can see the different knobs. So it'll just take a wee while to get used to that as well. And you can see here now in your seat, you have a quick release here for bringing your seat back. Just turn this here that way and pull the seat back up again. That's the seat up again already. And you can do the same on the far side. So all you do there is just turn that forward there. If you want to collapse this, you can see the seat collapsing there now.